if you're engaging in a fight, how much heat are you expected to have before you use prime light or laser disc? Put 50 or 100, one of those two. Put it in squad chat.
Are you asking at the start of the engagement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, sometimes, depending on where they are, you would prime light at the start of the engagement. Now, yeah, so the 55% crit build, that needs specific foods to give you the boost. But yeah, it's not mega important that you have that. I'm proof because this build doesn't have that yet because of stats and such. But the answer really is 50. Over 100 is like a big boost, right? You get 10% extra. But if you use it over 50, you're going to get enough. If you use it under 50, you've wasted it. Because if you use it under 50, if someone uses it now, anyone just use Prime Light for me. Alright, so you're missing the fields, alright? There's no burning fields on the floor. Now if I charge my heat up to at least 50, and then if I use Prime Light on you two, there's now a field on the floor, and if I dodge, Explosive Entrance keeps proccing. Right, so once those fields are on the floor, you've got 5 fields hitting 5 targets each at a maximum, unless they've changed that recently. But one of your traits, one of your minor traits, I think, I can't remember, is Explosive Entrance. If I can find it. Yeah, so your minor trait on your explosives line, Explosive Entrance. Your first attack when entering combat explodes, dealing damage to nearby foes. That ability refreshes after a dodge roll. So if those burning fields are on the floor and they're pulsing, if you can dodge twice while those are pulsing, you're going to explode on everybody in those fields. Did anyone know that from that video? You can just put yes or no. Right, good. So just as simple as a dodge roll is going to boost your damage massively. Now, looking at my screen, I prime lighted 2 players without any might or anything, so the damage is very low. But you can see that 9k came from prime light, explosive entrance gave 8.2k. All because I dodged while it was down. Nothing else, just dodging. So, nice simple way to improve your damage. Same with laser disc. That skill, best over 50 heat. Well, it's good over 50 heat, but over 100 is where it's going to do more damage. Same as Prime Light. But if you're new to playing Holo, it's really hard to sort of bounce around 50 to maybe 140 heat in combat. It's not easy. So just play with the bigger margin. Play with between 50 and 130. If you are about to push, you would then use laser disc. But if your commander's doing a lot of, let's say, last night I was in Renell's tag and he'd push forward and then 180 and then push and 180. As a Holo, if you press laser disc here and we push and we 180, you've wasted a massive source of your damage. I know Andrew likes to say use Prime Light, and it's a big skill, but it's not your primary source of damage. Often in squads, this will be 4th or 5th. Laser disc, massive source of damage. Blunderbuss on your rifle, huge source of damage if you're just entering combat, or you can squeeze a dodge roll in before it. You'll get lots of damage out of that. We'll see on these two. Just get some might first, and then we'll blunderbuss these two. So a nice little spike, not too much, but over a whole squad, you can get at least 25k out of that. Now, lots of people tend to go to this flamethrower kit and just camp it. Alright, you might just go flamethrower, just hold one, and that's me throughout the entire Zerg. Not a bad way of doing damage. Alright, if you're struggling, just hold one on flamethrower. If you've got lag, for example on reset night tonight, if you're lagging and you want to play Holo, there's two things I want you to do. One is to camp flamethrower. Two is to open up your traits, and you can click this trait, Juggernaut. You'll gain might and stability while you're using your flamethrower. You're your own source of stability. Then, because we're lagging still, and you're going to have trouble seeing when they spike you, change to this trait too, Light Density Amplifier. You get a damage reduction of 15%. Alright, so you're more tanky, you've got some stability, and flamethrower always works whether you're lagging or not, because you're just holding the same skill. So as soon as it starts to trigger, it's staying on. That is how you'll beat any sort of squads when you're lagging. Another huge skill before we get into the Holo Forge is your Acid Bomb. Now, Acid Bomb is on your Elixir gun, looks like that, and it's skill 4. Now, as a DPS, that's the only skill you really want to be using in your Elixir gun. If you need extra cleanses and stuff, you can use the same as you would on a Scrapper, where you might use Fumigate and then use your combo field with your Acid Bomb and cleanse some conditions, but that's not your job. Every time I do this, I try and tell you what your job is, and that's just to cause a lot of damage. So, Acid Bomb, Scrappers will know this. If I press Acid Bomb, I'm going flying backwards. You need to know which is your stow weapon button or switch weapon button, so that you can skill cancel that. Because you getting flung out of combat like that puts you away from your stability, puts you away from your cleanses, and it puts you away from sort of like the damage soaking effect where you all share it. So you're going to press skill 4, and then you're going to skill cancel it once you start to move. So you have to do it fairly quick to get it decent. Now if you miss it, you go in that far. That is a ridiculous amount. So I want you to try it now. Use your Elixir gun, press 4 and try and skill cancel it once you start to move. Right, now you'll notice, some of you might have noticed, that pulses twice. That skill does a lot of damage. Right, it's used when we push on them. It's not used as an engage or a skill to be placed where they're going to push to. It is for in melee range, you're going to use that skill. Now, other important skills, and I am going to keep this mega simple, is this jump shot on your rifle. You can use this in a couple of different ways. You can use it to disengage, which is a massive waste. You can use it to engage, or you can use it in melee range. Use it on your feet if you're in melee range like that. And when you land, huge damage. Sometimes I'm seeing crits of anywhere between 11 and 16k at the minute. So it gives you an idea of the spike potential on it. Obviously that depends on if they have weakness and if you've got might and fury and such. But another way you can use this is you can get yourself to over 50 heat. So we're over 50 heat already there. And before the fight, I'm sort of bouncing around this heat level. So I might get it to about here, dip out of it, let it fall back down a bit if we're like pushing and fake pushing. click it back on, and we can just bounce around there. Now, if you want to engage with jump shot, what I suggest you do is get your heat over 50, use laser disc, and then fire yourself in there. Because you'll get the spike damage off your jump shot, and you'll get spike damage off explosive entrance, and your laser disc will be going off. That is a very easy combo. If you want to try it, you can go for it now. I'll give you 2 minutes. You can use Elixir S if you're struggling, but I would never replace Elixir gun with it. I'd only replace Flamethrower. That's the only skill I'd get rid of off this bar. People generally don't like that because they want a stat pad. They want to look good on these damage, but no one looks at that. What we look at is Down's contribution. Now, Elixir S gives you some invulnerability, but it massively cooks your damage. It's crap. People normally use it because you don't know one of 3 things. Either the Healing Mist, if you look at your F2 skill, if you're running your build in the same order as me, that's a stun break and it's instant cast. You can be honest, I want you to tell me if you knew that was a stun break, or if you didn't know.
I didn't.
It's my second time.
Healing Mist is a stun break. Nice and easy, dead quick to use. That might get you out of feeling like you need Elixir S. Another one is before you push, so before you go melee range, your healing is predominantly done by your support players. But if you read AED, if you take lethal damage while it's active, it's going to heal you for a large amount and remove conditions. That's another like fail safe before you push. So you're going to activate AED, then you're going to jump in and do your burst rotation. And if you take lethal damage in that time, you should be healed. If you get stunned, you can use F2 or whatever you've got healing is done. And the third thing that people often don't know, and this was apparent looking at damage and the way Holos was playing the other night, is your positioning. Alright, so if you stand between me and these guys, and what I want you guys to do, if that is the commander, and I'm the enemy squad, how close are you going to stand to him? Alright, so loads of different opinions. But on Holo, there is a thing as too close, too soon. But if you're this close already, I'd get it if you was a Scourge or a Firebrand. But if you open Holo 4, you've got skill 2, which is super speed and elite. You don't need to be up the commander's arse when you're in pull range. So you can go a bit further back. But you've got to juggle this between your Firebrand and yourself. Because if you're in front of your Firebrand, you've got no stability other than stand your ground. So, again, if you're further away, and I'm moving around like this, you guys move to counter my movement. Obviously, arrow guy, you stay still, but you move to counter mine. I want to see what you do. Alright, good. So we're staying opposite sides. If I move right, you guys are moving right. So we're on opposite sides, yeah? We do that because Prime Light's easier to hit. Now, I want you to be honest again and tell me if you struggle to land Prime Light quite often. And I know which ones do and which ones don't, judging off the logs. Every time. Okay. So there is a little cheat method to doing this. So you need to make sure that you've got skill retargeting on in your options, which if I can remember where that is, we'll find it. I honestly don't know where it is.
Combat.
So combat and movement allow skill retargeting. You need that. Okay? That's important. Now, second, what I'm doing, and this might be easier if you look at my screen, or it might not, is when I'm about to use Prime Light, I'm not using it on their commander or anyone in the front. I'm trying to press it on players at the back of the squad. Because if the commander changes direction, he seems to move quicker than the ones at the back. Now, when I press Prime Light, it's got a couple of seconds while it charges up and goes off unless you've got quickness. So you've got a second and a quarter, not a couple of seconds. But in that time, you've clicked the player at the back of their squad. Whilst that skill is charging up and getting ready to go off, I want you to keep clicking on different people that are sort of within the center of their movement. So you're constantly changing target with this. You're not picking one and then hoping he stays still. You're going to press Prime Light and you're going to click, hoping that you can land it on some sort of middle target. So if you guys all move as a unit now, I'll try and show you. So I'm countering your movement again. Okay. And then it's my group staying still for a second. You see, we shot it through the center and got a few of you. Obviously, there's going to be outliers because no strafes like this in combat. We're going to move on a gentle angle, sort of. But I want you guys to try and do that when using Prime Light. Just keep clicking, click random targets. Alright, that is a big thing to try. As well, you can skill cancel Prime Light. Same way you do with Elixir Gun number 4. You can skill cancel. So if Andrew says Prime Light and then all of a sudden they're not in a good spot, he's going to be happier that you've not wasted it and you've cancelled it. But try and use it soon after so everyone's on a similar cooldown. If you look at your Holo Forge skills, I want you to tell me which ones are useful for damage. Just tell me with numbers, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or any of those. Any other?
Temperature normalized.
Okay, good. So I'm
Three
glad
combat.
someone said number 4. If you said number 4, you're pressing that skill with your fingers crossed that they're not got a reflect bubble up or you're going to wipe yourself out.
Here's where things get hot.
If you look at your maximum HP, it's not a lot. You're going to be flattened pretty quick. But that's the reason I ask and I try to get you to say number 4, because then everyone's going to remember. Don't press number 4 if they're reflecting stuff. Use it sort of when you're hunting people down that are trying to escape after the wipe. Other than that, you want to be using skills 1 and 3 for damage.
Heat level stabilized.
You're going to use skill 2 for engaging, maybe, because it leaves behind a little field that provides super speed to everybody that passes through it. You can super speed your entire squad if they're in single file. Alright? Now, before any push, you're going to get heat, and you are going to activate laser disc.
That's how I do it. Heat level stabilized.
And then just like that, you can wipe out as many as you want.
Feeling better.
So that was based off of just a handful of skills. Alright, I used laser disc, explosive entrance got you, and I used Holo Forge number 2 and a Corona Burst. That's it. There might have been a couple of auto attacks in there, but if you look at my screen, most of the damage is Corona Burst and explosive entrance, laser disc, and then we have our little bits of extra damage. So if you want to try that combo back towards me, Ronell, and Hamster, you can go for it. Remember, you need your heat above 50 at least. Try not to finish us when you down us. Anyone or all of you can go for it. Jump shot your way in. There you go. Ronell. He survived. Nice. Alright, now I'm gonna get Renell, Hamster, and Moses to follow me around, and I want you to try and hit us with Prime Light. Sound like an easy task? You guys are gonna stay in the middle. We're gonna run around. You're gonna try and hit us with Prime Light. I'm not gonna be unfair and move sharply. I'll move sort of how we would. Some of you have got range issues already. Okay, whenever you're ready. What are you not doing after you've Prime Lighted there? Alright, so when you Prime Light, get that dodge roll in afterwards. Put plus up in chat if you didn't dodge roll after you Prime Lighted. Okay, so remember that's 3 damage you're missing out on. So we've got some hollows. We're gonna Prime Light you and dodge roll, and then I'll show you what happens to my stats afterwards. So you get your heat anywhere above 50, but over 100 is obviously much nicer.
I've been immolated. To battle again.
Someone begin reviving. Alright, so if you can see my screen, you can see what's going on with this explosive entrance skill. Just off a trait. If I'm going to use a big skill that lays down a field, I might as well dodge. Alright, 84k off that, 101k off Prime Light. Alright, so if you weren't around earlier, use your flamethrower if there's lag. Change those traits to Juggernaut and Light Density Amplifier for extra tankiness. That will give you a good excuse to camp flamethrower on reset night if you're lagging. Other than that, you're a spike damage class. Try and use spike damage. Any questions? Kerry asked about food. What did you ask, Kerry?
I have questions. Did you showcase blasting? Because I think it's
Okay, yeah, that's something we struggled with, isn't it? So blasting, you've got 3 blast finishes. You've got 1 on your elixir gun, which is your acid bomb. You've got skill number 2 on your flamethrower, and you've got skill number 5 in Hollow Forge. So you can be your own source of 9 might stacks. So if I see hollows with less than 9 might stacks complaining that you're not getting any might, that's partly on you. So you're going to use skill 4 on your flamethrower, skill 2, swap to elixir gun, skill 4 and cancel it, and then skill 5 in Hollow.
And my question about food was the 55% build that's supposed to get 100 to 100. If that relays on also takes in the 70 from the buff food, or if I can use a ferocity buff food to get still to 100.
I'm not sure if the ferocity buff food gets you there, but it's close enough. Like, you're not going to get it every time if it's not at 100, but you know, sometimes you're going to have Fury struck from you as well, so it's not negligible. It's good if you're min-maxing, but you're not a raider, you're not in PvE, things change constantly, just try and aim for it.